Hi, welcome or welcome back to Heretic Tarot. My name is Liz, and I will be guiding you on this journey, wherever that journey takes us. How are you? Tell me everything. How was February? February thoroughly kicked my butt. Um, I know there's a lot of. I forgot I had this in my ear. February had a lot of big stuff going on. I know it's not over yet, so you know, buckle in, stay grounded as much as you can. I feel like some people would probably be feeling things more than others. Um, obviously we all experience energies differently, right? But anyway, with all that being said, um, we're going to be talking about March-ish, right? I mean, really these readings are timeless, but I try to put them out on a monthly basis. Speaking of, I've only been doing the human design profile readings since I don't even know when I decided to do that. October is coming to mind, but I don't know. I don't actually know the last time I did zodiac readings. But as I was like sitting here yesterday, actually, like kind of, I went and found tarot decks or, decks to use for our readings this time around. And we're going to use the Sacred Rebels Oracle and the Tarot of the Abyss, which is a nice surprise because this deck usually tells me no. I think I mentioned in my intro the last time that I get consent from the tarot decks, at least oracle decks I don't, but for my tarot decks I get consent for readings before I do them. And anytime I pick up the Tarot of the Abyss, it usually gives me a no card, so I was pleasantly surprised to see a yes card this time around. So I also just think it's like kind of a cool juxtaposition between like the very colorful oracle and this is more like pencil drawings. So, anyway, that's my little thought process on that. But what was I talking about? Oh, I got this little flutter, this little thing about doing zodiac readings also. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to do human design profile readings and also zodiac signs. So I'm going to be using my little bowl to choose the order because it's just overwhelming to have to be responsible for choosing, the order unless I go in order, which, how heretical is that? Not very. So anyway, that's what the plan is. And obviously, I'll just be posting probably every day-ish until I get them all done. And what else? Was there something else I wanted to say? I don't know. But in any case, I don't okay, I'm just going to say it because I feel like it keeps like coming up, and part of me is like, I don't want to talk too much about myself because it's also like my little internal wounding is like, you know, um, if I do share too much or, whatever, that could just be because I have Chiron conjunct my sun. I don't know. But anyway, this idea of falling apart and being rebuilt keeps coming up. And I think it's also because that's been a lot of February for me is like on Valentine's Day, I had a migraine so bad that it actually made me physically sick, which I haven't had a migraine that bad since I think 2001 was the last time I remember having a migraine to the point of physically making me sick. Migraines, yes. I mean, when I was working my corporate girly job, I had migraines weekly, like every Monday, like clockwork. Sometimes on Tuesday, rarely it would like go into Wednesday if it was like really that bad. So yeah, migraines used to, but the kind that would make me physically sick, not so much. Anyway, that was the day that Mars and Pluto were conjunct, like I believe, right on top of each other. I believe that's what was happening on Valentine's Day at like 0 degrees Aquarius or something like that. Is that why? I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot. My point in saying that anyway is that there's a lot of planets that are all grouped together. If you watch astrology stuff, if you watch tarot stuff, I'm sure you probably just constantly keep hearing this, because it's also a lot of stuff that like hasn't happened in a long time, right? So all of these kind of energies that we haven't really experienced in the past couple of generations. But anyway, I decided to change or pause a few things as far as work goes for me, but then in other areas there was expansion. And again, just like I said before and kind of got off track, is there's this feeling of being in pieces. But almost like, like reviewing each piece and seeing, like if that piece still fits in the puzzle. And if it does, how does it fit into the puzzle? Right? And granted, a lot of these planetary things are happening between my 8th and 11th house. So that makes sense. For me, obviously it could be depending on your chart, specifically, astrology. It would depend, like on what area of your chart could be affected by this. So I know we're all in it together, right? And like I said, try to stay grounded as much as you can. That's a reminder for myself too. I keep telling myself to make like a raft and float. Just not getting stuck in a particular energy, good or bad. I'm also emotional authority, so like that wave, I have to just kind of remind myself too of the highs and the lows and the neutrals can change in a matter of seconds. I'm a Cancer rising, so oh my gosh, right? Like, girl. So anyway, like I said, I keep telling myself make like a raft and float, because I don't think anything is figured out yet. I don't think anything is settled yet. We'll see what happens. I'm sending all my love to you, and I'm going to stop talking about me, and we're going to start talking about you in these readings. Hello. Also, apologies in advance. I'm getting over a cold or something. I don't know what it is. Like last night was the only night that I actually felt bad, quote unquote, but otherwise I feel like I've been fighting something off, and I feel like it's kind of like in my chest or lungs a little bit. So if I am breathing weird, I apologize. I'm like trying to be careful not to take what am I saying? Like too hard of a breath or something, to where like I start coughing. So I'm just like breathing weird. Anyway, if I cough or whatever, sorry about that. And if you have some healing vibes, send those bad boys over. Anyway, we're starting with the 3-5 human design profile. We only need one card. So let's see what your oracle card is, and then of course we'll get into the tarot. Like 3 cards keep coming out. I don't have space for 3 big ass cards. There we go. 6 minutes of shuffling. Oh my gosh. I immediately kind of feel like, because immediately, right, I said 6 minutes of shuffling, and all of these thoughts were going through my head. Maybe I should choose a card, you know, maybe I should, my hand was hurting because these cards are about the length of my hand, right, and having to hold them like that, like it just, my fingers were hurting from stretching them out, whatever. I'm just getting kind of fatigued, right? But yeah, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't even be using this deck. Maybe I should choose a different deck. Maybe, you know, all of these things that were going through my mind as I was shuffling. There was one point where like 3 cards came out, but one kind of separated themselves from the other 2. And I was like, maybe I should take that. And then I'm like, no, because the only reason why I would have chosen that one, the one that separated itself from the other ones, was because I wanted to just be done shuffling and get like moving, like move on with the reading, right? Which is not right, because that's not how I choose cards, right? And it would be kind of out of integrity for me to do that. So immediately seeing this card, faith in the process, even, you know, this person, it actually looks like they're in a wagon. It says faith on the wagon too. They're in this prayer pose. There's these 2 birds that almost, both of these birds are looking in the same direction though, right? So it's like there's protection around you. Maybe there is something to do with birds and you. Like, I mean, maybe, you know, you receive messages from birds. Maybe you'll see a bird on like a sign, or like even like a bird will catch your eye around something, and it's like, listen to your first thought, your first feeling, if something like that happens, because no doubt there's a message in that. You know, feathers, usually when feathers turn up around us, that means, you know, there's a loved one from the other side communicating with us, just letting us know that they're around. But again, right, it's like trusting that first thought that you feel. I'm going to set that there, but of course I'll make sure that everything is in frame once we get all the tarot cards out. We have the Justice card, Libra. We have the Page of Swords. A lot of mental stuff already, because both of those are air cards. That's weird. The Chariot flipped over in the deck, but it was in the reverse. I don't take the cards that flip over in the deck. We have an understanding that the cards need to come out. See, that is so weird. 10 of Wands in reverse. So there's clearly some cards in the room. I don't shuffle reversals into my deck, but of course if they come out that way, we'll take them that way. The Hermit, and this is way too many cards. But again, 7 of Swords is reversed. Just weird. Weird. Right. The 9 of Wands was reversed. One more. Judgment. That's a good card to have at the end of the reading. It's like this whole process, this whole faith in the process, it's definitely leading to big changes. So let me just make sure everything is in frame, and then we'll get on to your reading. Okay. Let me see. The only thing that I'm not necessarily a big fan of is that the like writings of each of these cards in this book is like 2.5-ish pages long, which granted, I don't have to read the whole thing, but sometimes I want to. So let me just start reading and we'll see how far we get. Maybe I'll bounce around a little bit too. But it says, no matter how powerful we are, how much courage and strength we have, there are times when we can't quite move ourselves along to the next phase of life or creative exploration. At such times, we need some divine intervention, a little help in pulling our trolley along, so to speak. When we are at the edge of our own limits and have no more personal resources, we might be left with only one spiritual power, that of faith. Fortunately, that is enough. As unlikely as it may seem, the invisible help from the universe is often more powerful than the physical efforts of 1,000 men. That is because the invisible help is not limited by physical laws. It can shift, bend, and move in ways that defy limitation. It can affect, evoke, and influence situations through invisible but undeniably persuasive means. This might just sum up this like whole reading. Wouldn't that be so funny if this reading was like 5 minutes long? There you go. But it says you are in a situation where you cannot set right the course of events all by yourself. This is not an indication that you have done something wrong, nor does this suggest that you are not strong enough. It is a sign that there is something bigger unfolding in your life, and your willpower will be supplemented by the power of life itself. Sometimes a bigger plan needs to manifest for the benefit of humanity and the earth. You need to shift your perspective to realize that you are part of the greater unfoldment of life, that your individual life serves the greater plan, and that you are not separate from its genius. This is what is happening now. You happen to be instrumental to the greater plan, and as such, you need to accept your position and be moved, while also being empowered and protected as you make personal progress through your role in the grander scheme. You will need faith, though. You may feel as though the wheels of your trolley are coming off or that they are a bit rickety, but you must also understand that the voice of life is now coming straight to your heart with this message. I have resources you know not of. It is safe to trust in my ways and in my wisdom, for I love you and I am guiding you into all that is rightfully yours. Know that what is rightfully yours is what your heart truly desires, and you need not fear loss. Nothing that is meant to come to you will be denied, and it is safe for you to let go and allow me to move you. Through faith, peace is restored, and you are able to know this and perhaps have some fun in the process. Beautiful. I love that. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. It's interesting that like the oracle card and the card at the bottom of the deck kind of mirror the same vibe. There's kind of this worry here, even a vulnerability, because that person is naked. So I hope you're not offended by that. YouTube will probably take my video down. Maybe I should do one of those. Not that I agree with that, but yeah, again, like this feeling of your trolley being rickety or not knowing what the outcome is going to be, which I think a lot of us get hung up in those details, right? I know we're like totally skipping all over like what's in the middle here. So let's just start at the beginning. I love it. We start with justice, we end with awakening or judgment. Justice is also an 11. So, 11s or one, I should say, are new beginnings. One plus one is two. Two is knowing what you need to do. So, anyway, justice, it's about the scales balancing, right? It's fairness, it's getting what you deserve, good or bad or otherwise. Like I said, it is a card of Libra also, so it is ruled by Venus. So there's just even this kind of nurturing, motherly, kind of vibe to that, putting things right, and it's paired with the Ten of Wands in reverse. So tens are usually completion, not to mention 1 plus 0 is 1, right? So there's clearly this revamping is what comes to mind, but really, ones are new beginnings, right? So there's that. The energy of something new is definitely around you. Even if we don't technically have aces out on the table, there's still this energy of new, and we can start new at any point in the process, right? So anyway, tens are completion. Wands have to do with action, communication. It's the motivation behind the actions that we take. It's our creativity, our passions. What actions are we taking towards those things? How are we communicating those things? I also see wands as being information, because that's what we get by trying things, as you know, right? With that third line, it's trial and error. It's, what works, what doesn't work, what do I like, what don't I like, what fits, what doesn't, right? And upright, this card signifies the end of like a lesson. You got everything that you needed to get. You have all the information that you need in order to move forward. It also even talks about burden, though, in the upright. So with it being in the reverse, and specifically too, like upright, this guy or whatever, they're carrying these 10 wands on their back in a basket, right? So again, just that feeling of burden, carrying all those lessons, all those wands that you've picked up along the way. And even too, I'm getting this feeling of, well, because it came out in the reverse, it's like all these wands could just fall right out. So it's this feeling of releasing, but it would be like releasing what isn't even your burden to carry, especially with it paired with a justice card, right? Like fairness, things balancing out, karma, and not just like the karma of our lives, like what we came into our lives to do, right? Not necessarily you were a bitch and, or somebody else was, and karma's going to come get them. I mean, it certainly can be that. But, again, just this feeling of releasing what is no longer yours, and it was never yours to carry anyway, because it still counts even if it's in the reverse. It's still a 10. So there's still this level of completion here. So releasing that baggage which isn't yours any effing way. And then we have the Page of Swords. It's almost like it frees up the energy, or even just mental space for you to focus on something else. Because the Page of Wands, it's not quite an ace, but it is something new. It is a new beginning, because pages are like the apprentices. They're younger children, so they have kind of this naive kind of energy to them, in the sense of you're trying something new. They already have the Ace of Swords in their hand. So again, this new beginning has already happened, which is interesting that that kind of keeps coming up. So it's like the ace has already occurred. Not to mention, like after the 10, we go back to the ace. So anyway, they're holding the Ace of Swords there. So they've already had an idea, a new, spark of inspiration, all things swords. It has to do with your mind, your thought process, how you communicate your thoughts too. I also see swords as being the suit of ego because that's generally where we hear our ego is in our minds. And our ego is created by the stories that we attach to experiences, to feelings, people, places, things, right? And it becomes the reason why we do and don't do certain things. So the Page of Swords already has the Ace of Swords in their hand. They already have this idea. They already had the new inspiration, the new perspective on something. It could even been discovering a new truth about yourself or about the situation that you're involved in, because swords also have to do with divine truth. Not to mention being next to the Justice card, because the Justice card, or the Justice in the Justice card, is usually holding a sword, and that is a sword of truth. So, but it's objective, based solely on facts and what can be proven. There's no emotion involved in it, because then it becomes an opinion. So it's interesting that we even have these two next to each other. The Page of Swords, again, you've already had this new thing, and it could have even been something that was dropped into your consciousness, because we can see this orb above their head. It could be something that maybe it seems out there. Maybe that's also why this Bathe in the Process card came out, because you're like, oh my gosh, like that is so far out there. I have no clue how I could bring that thing down, like into my consciousness for one thing, and into the physical realm for another thing. There's also this maze that's behind the Page of Swords that they haven't even started yet. They're like right at the beginning. I didn't even notice that there's this book on the ground. This could have been something that you learned in a book, or just through some sort of research. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be specifically reading, but just some sort of research. But it's kind of like it's not quite in your consciousness, but it's around there. Especially, like I said, just with this orb above them, and even their body language, like being receptive to it, because again, it almost has this like vulnerable feeling to it, like keeping an open mind also. And even, like I was saying at the beginning, like not attaching ourselves to an emotion, to a thought, to, just allowing ourselves to remain open-minded in these current times. And it's interesting that it's paired with the Hermit card, because like I said, right, there's this maze that is behind the Page of Swords. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on that. Hopefully you can see this maze behind them. And I only know that they haven't even gone through the maze yet, because the knight, the queen are the ones that are going through the maze, and then the king is like on the other side of it. And I believe the king is like holding that orb, if I remember correctly. I'm like, that would be kind of funny if it was like close to. No, it's not, but that's okay. Sorry, my paranoia about my camera not focusing is still in full effect. So I'm trying to like get better at that. Anyway, it's interesting that it's paired with the Hermit card, because the Hermit is attached to Virgo. We just had a Virgo full moon, new moon, full moon. I'm recording this on February 28th, and just this past weekend was that Virgo moon. And any case, the Hermit is all about going within. It's quieting yourself so that you can hear the guidance from yourself, right? But it's like, the journey is always going to be unique to you. The Hermit is also, it's kind of like lone wolfy in the sense, right, that like your path is unique to you, and it is like trusting the process. It's allowing yourself to step on that path and allowing yourself to follow your own inner guidance. They're holding this snake here in their hand. There could be a Kundalini awakening, since the awakening card is here, but you could be experiencing that. But even just the shedding of skin, kind of metaphor that comes along with snakes. And the whole purpose of that is to allow yourself to either grow or regenerate, right? Because I'm like thinking spiders. There's this guy on TikTok. Is it like Venom Man 2.0 or something like that? But he has a ton of spiders, a ton of snakes, a ton of stuff that I never thought that I would actually watch. But I love it. I don't know. Anyway, but he had this one spider that he got that her fang got stuck in the one of the like little openings of this container it was in and ripped off. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have to keep her alive until she sheds again, because she'll just regrow that fang. And she did. So again, right, there's two reasons to shed. There's the growth aspect, because you no longer fit that skin anyway. You no longer identify with that skin, or to regenerate something that was broken, damaged, injured, whatever the case may be, right? But also that is your own internal work. And it's that whole thing of like, there's no way out but in, or there's the only way out is in, or the only way, how does that saying go? Like, yeah, the only way out is in, which is a little bit of like what I was talking about in my intro too, because I think, one of the things about dedicating yourself to your own healing and your own like authenticity, even with the Hermit card, because it really is, committing yourself to yourself, right? Like, but I was talking about like the pieces, or like feeling like, you know, being in pieces. It really is just this feeling of like everything falling apart. And I feel like, when you are on a healing journey, and especially if you allow yourself to continue and you don't get stuck, which I feel like I've mentioned a few times, as far as like making like a raft and floating, right? Eventually, like for a while, you'll be like, okay, yeah, this is it, right? Like I feel put back together. I feel like the pieces all fit. And then all of a sudden they don't anymore. And all of a sudden it's like you're in pieces again, and you're like, okay, here we go again. Not that it necessarily gets any easier, but I think you just start recognizing it faster, It becomes less, I don't know, devastating, maybe. Anyway, so this pair together, in order to get this orb into you, it's like you have to go within yourself. This is something that you have to do, even going back to, faith in the process, trusting that process. We have the Queen of Wands. After the Queen of, I see queens as being when we recognize the energy within ourselves, when we master the energy of the suit within ourselves. And even, I mean, we can see her sitting in front of a campfire, almost like meditating is what it looks like to me. But there's this little, again, let me see if I can get the camera to focus on this. Hopefully you can see it, but there's this little fire nymph is what is coming to mind here. the details are probably way too small for you to be able to see, but it's like conjuring this fire within yourself. It's like harnessing that fire within yourself. But again, like you have to, it's something that you have to do, that you have to master. And even, right up here, she has this crown, of course, that she's wearing, but there's this gem that's like right between her third eye and her crown. So even going back to this orb over here, right? To me, this would signify that it has reached your consciousness. It has been downloaded. It's in there. Now it's a matter of harnessing it. And a lot of this is going to be you dedicating yourself to like the journey. But also, even too, I think this message is like just confirmation that it is going to be a process, and it, most importantly, it is going to be worth it. And what you are going to get out of it is going to be way greater than anything you could have imagined. And we can even see that in the I almost said the justice card, the judgment card, because they're literally oh my gosh. I didn't even, they're shedding their skin. We can see that they're literally coming out of their skin. Not only that, they're coming out totally transformed. I mean, this shed doesn't look like it has any wings. It's definitely very like butterfly metaphor. But, the whole process is an opportunity for you to totally transform. Like, who knows how long this is going to take? I mean, the Hermit card is kind of, it's earth, so it's a little slow moving. I think it really kind of depends on you, of course, too, right? But I don't necessarily think that there's any reason to rush through this. But even starting with the Justice card, it's like there is something that is meant for you in this life. Whether that's a way of being, a way of, expressing yourself, the work that you do, your purpose, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be like work related or whatever. I mean, purpose is very expansive as far as its meaning, right? But like there is something that you came here to experience, and this whole process is going to bring you to that experience. And again, I do feel like it's going to be better than you imagined. We have the Eight of Swords at the bottom of the deck. And again, right, I mean, the Eight of Swords, like I was saying, kind of has this feeling over here, because the Eight of Swords is like when we get lost in our thoughts, like when it's, we feel trapped, we feel like there's no way out. It could be that, I feel like this is taking too long. I'm not seeing the fruits of my labor, or, it's mental stuff though. It's like all of that doubt, that anxiety. This could even be resistance to whatever this process is. Maybe you're just like, no, F that. It could even be that. But the thing with the Eight of Swords is that you are one decision away from changing your circumstances, from changing your frame of mind. Because the person in the Eight of Swords, they might have, they might be bound here, right? But they're not actually tied up. If they just moved around a little bit, they could actually free themselves. But it is a self-inflicted mind prison is usually how so it could even just be, part of this process is dismantling your ego and changing the way that you perceive certain events. Because right behind that is the Nine of Pentacles, individual success, financial freedom. There's even this bird that she's holding in her hand, and we have these birds over here. So this accomplishment feeling or reaching a point of success in the physical plane, though, pentacles do have to do with literal 3D. So it's anything we can touch, anything that has value, worth, like money, our physical body, even where we live, our possessions. So in your physical world, you will notice that there's even a white picket fence behind them. So again, it's this feeling of getting what you want. And these little guides here helped you get there. Like these two birds on this card, they're holding that bird. There's a Fool card, a new beginning, a leap of faith, like an actual new beginning, right? Because we were kind of talking about new beginnings, but not aces as far as new beginnings, but just a new, whatever, new way of thinking about things, a new perspective, a new even way about going about things, releasing baggage over here, right? Even like recognizing your worth and what you deserve. So this is that actual new beginning though, and it's available. The 9 of Wands, feeling a bit beat up. Like, take a rest, but keep going. The Magician card, the Wheel of Fortune, all this good stuff. The Empress, the Strength card, the 10 of Pentacles, like, right? Like there's a lot of good stuff that is right behind this 8 of Swords. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.